A young, stunning American archaeologist vanishes into thin air while exploring an ancient burial site in Arizona. She's thrown back in time to a lost Mesoamerican civilization between 1200 to 400 BC. There, amidst warring tribes and crumbling empires, she's hunted by Tolak, a terrifying otherworldly entity with glowing eyes and a face like bone. The jungle closes in. Every turn is a chase. Every whisper, a warning. Just as all hope fades, a mysterious warrior named Kale emerges to protect her. Fear grips her heart as she runs through temples and shadows, unsure if escape is even possible. And someone or something is always watching. I used to think archaeology was mostly dust and paperwork, until last fall. I was part of a private expedition mapping burial sites in southern Arizona, remote land, part of the old Pueblo territories. My name's Ava Remington. I was 24, fresh-faced, curious, and honestly just happy to be picked for something big. We found a sealed chamber, buried under what looked like a collapsed temple floor. Symbols no one could translate, stone heavier than it should have been. I remember brushing my fingers across a strange carving, a spiral that pulsed when the sun hit it. Then came the sound, low, humming, like something ancient breathing beneath my skin. I blinked and the desert was gone. There was jungle, not wild, cultivated. Massive pyramids, carved archways, masked warriors walking in silence. Everything vibrant, alive, and wrong. I knew instantly I wasn't in my time anymore. My clothes, my language, my everything felt alien here. A group found me. Painted faces, suspicious eyes. They didn't speak English, but they didn't harm me. They whispered a name to each other. Ixcheli. I was taken to a high priestess, dressed in feathers and gold. Her eyes were soft, but she looked through me. She touched my forehead and said I was sent by the sky, meant to witness the return of something buried. I didn't understand. Not until the sky turned dark the next night. He came with the eclipse, tall, thin, face half bone, half something else. Skin stretched like burnt leather, fangs yellowed, eyes glowing green, inhuman, fixed. He moved like smoke. His name was Tolak. They called him a guardian once. Now they whispered it like a curse. He wanted me, or what I carried. I ran that night, into the jungle. Vines ripped my shirt, thorns cut my legs, but I ran. He didn't chase like a man. He glided, silent, watching. The jungle twisted, paths looped back, drums pounded in the distance. He wasn't alone. Someone found me first. A man, maybe late 20s, named Kale, tan skin, sharp jaw, warrior's eyes. He wore obsidian armor, marked with old glyphs. He didn't ask where I came from, just said, "He marked you." That's how he hunts. We moved fast. Hidden tunnels, crumbling temples. Kale knew them all. Said his tribe once guarded the gate to Tolak's prison. But the gate was broken now. They feared Tolak's return. I was the sign. Each night, the spirits grew louder. Shadows whispered in dead languages. Women in white passed between trees. Sometimes I saw my own face carved into the ruins, like I had been there before, like this wasn't my first time. Then we reached the obsidian altar, the center of the old city. Tolak waited. His voice was smoke. He said the past didn't forget. That time bends for those marked. He raised his hand and the jungle froze, even the wind. Kale stood in front of me, spear raised, eyes steady. Behind us the portal shimmered, gold and blue carved in the same spiral that brought me here. Kale said, "Run." So I did. The last thing I saw was his silhouette, framed in burning light facing a monster made of time. I woke up in the desert. Same spot, same sun, but different. My hair still had jungle leaves. My hands smelled like ash. The dig site was gone, vanished. No one believed me, except the priest at the local chapel. He had a carving on his desk, a spiral, and my name written beneath it. Not carved, burned. I remember the weight of the air, heavy, still, like something unseen waiting just beyond the trees. My name's Amber. A month ago I was in Arizona brushing sand off a carved stone. Now I'm barefoot in a forgotten jungle, hiding from something that doesn't seem fully human. Kale found me first, his skin marked with old symbols, eyes sharp like he knew every shadow. He didn't speak much, just gestures and glances. But I followed. I had no other choice. Behind us, the forest breathed, and sometimes it didn't sound like trees at all. The first time I saw Tolak, I froze. His face was stretched, not really a face, just bone in those eyes, red and patient. His steps made no sound, but the birds fled before him. Kale dragged me into a cave. I didn't ask questions. I couldn't. He said we'd crossed into the time of ashes. I laughed, but the stars were wrong. No planes, no signals, just stone towers and firelight. People here spoke in hushed tones. They feared Tolak like he ruled the night itself. Then we found Esma. She looked maybe my age, but spoke like she remembered wars. She pressed clay symbols into my palms, told me I was seen by the gods. I told her I just wanted to go home. She smiled without warmth. There was a night when the drums didn't stop. We ran, through temples older than history, across bridges that trembled under our steps. Tolak followed, always close, never rushing, like he knew I would tire first. Kale pushed a door open that wasn't there before. Inside was light, but not sunlight, something softer. I stepped in. A voice whispered a name I didn't know. Behind me, Tolak paused. He wouldn't cross that light, not even him. Inside, the air was warm. The space felt sacred. Esma met us again, said this was the place between times. She warned me not to speak aloud the name the room gave me, not unless I was ready to lose who I used to be. I haven't said it, not yet. But it echoes inside my chest sometimes, especially when Tolak gets close. I wonder if I'll ever see my world again, or if this place has already written my story for me. I keep moving, because stopping feels worse than fear. Every day we walk further. Every day the sky shifts slightly. Kale says we're heading toward the Temple of Still Water, that something waits there, something older than even Tolak. I don't ask what. I just watch the trees and listen to the wind that doesn't always belong to this world. Some nights, I dream of home. But even in the dream, the shadows have teeth. I'm still trying to grasp how this place folds time and space around itself. Each step deeper into the temple feels heavier, as if the walls themselves are watching me. My heart races when I think about Tolak's presence just beyond sight. Kale walks beside me silently, his eyes never leaving the shadows. He trusts no one here, not even Esma, whose calm facade hides a restless urgency. The way she speaks about the ancient powers makes me question what I've gotten myself into. Last night, strange whispers filled the air, words I couldn't understand but felt in my bones. When I looked back, a flicker of green light vanished behind a pillar. Kale told me it was the work of the forest spirits, guardians of this old world. He said, we must respect them or risk losing everything. Esma found an old scroll carved from bark. She traced symbols with trembling fingers, murmuring a warning about a great darkness looming over us all. I don't know if she speaks of Tolak or something even older, but her eyes were wide with fear. I feel caught between two worlds, one I barely remember and one that refuses to let me go. Sometimes I see faces in the trees, strangers watching with silent intent. When I mention it, Kale tightens his grip on my arm, urging me to stay quiet. The air shifts, the temple floor groans beneath our feet, and a cold breeze snakes through the corridors. Suddenly a figure steps forward, a woman with sharp eyes and silver hair, introducing herself as Naya. She says she's been waiting for us. Her voice is calm but carries a weight I can't ignore. Naya speaks of a prophecy about a stranger who bridges time and holds the power to restore balance or break the cycle forever. I wonder if she means me. Kale doesn't trust her, but I sense she might be the key to finding a way home. Together, we move toward the inner sanctum, where light fades and shadows dance wildly on ancient stone. The feeling of being hunted tightens, and I catch glimpses of Tolak's grotesque silhouette just beyond the corner of my eye. Every step forward is a test of will. My mind struggles to separate what is real from what is dream. I question my own memories, fearing I might lose myself in this place where time is a fragile thread. In the deepest chamber, we find an altar inscribed with faces of forgotten gods. Naya places her hands on it, chanting softly. Suddenly, the room pulses with energy, and I feel something awaken inside me, a flicker of hope mixed with a shadow of dread. Kale's grip is steady as the temple trembles around us. Tolak's presence grows nearer, but this time there is a barrier. The ancient magic holds him back, but for how long? I know this journey will change me. The woman I was before may not return, but I must believe there is light beyond this darkness. For now, all I can do is move forward and face whatever waits in the silence. The temple whispers secrets only the brave dare to hear. I listen closely, holding on to the fragile thread of hope that maybe, just maybe, I'll find my way back. The night settled over the village like a heavy curtain. I remember sitting by the fire with Mira and Darren, talking quietly about the strange things we had seen. Mira's eyes never left the dark tree line beyond our camp, while Darren kept scanning the shadows with a tight grip on his lantern. I couldn't shake the feeling that something unseen was moving just beyond our reach. Earlier that day, when we explored the ruins, I noticed subtle changes in the air. The breeze felt colder, and the silence around us was too thick, as if the land itself was holding its breath. Mira found a small carved token half buried in the dirt and whispered about an old legend of a guardian spirit that watches over the lost. Her voice trembled slightly as she told the story, making me wonder if what we faced was more than just myth. As darkness deepened, footsteps echoed from the forest edge. Darren stiffened, signaling us to stay still. A figure appeared, a woman with eyes like polished stone and a presence that made the fire flicker wildly. She introduced herself as Sela, claiming she was tied to the ancient rituals and could guide us. I wanted to trust her, but something about her calm unsettled me. That night, strange sounds whispered outside the tents. I kept hearing soft chants and faint laughter, drifting on the wind like a forgotten song. When I looked out, a shadow slipped between the trees. Mira said it was the Guardian, warning us to turn back. But Darren insisted we press on, convinced the answers lay deeper in the forgotten temple. Morning brought a new tension. The ruins seemed to shift with the light, stones rearranged, paths opening where none existed before. Sela led us to an altar surrounded by worn carvings, explaining it was a gateway between worlds. As she traced the symbols, the air hummed with energy, and I felt a tug deep inside, like a thread pulling me toward something I couldn't see. Then came the moment that changed everything. The ground trembled softly, as if waking from a long sleep. A presence filled the space around us, unseen yet palpable. Mira stepped back, pale and silent, while Darren's grip tightened on the token she had found. I wanted to speak but found my voice caught in my throat, trapped between awe and fear. In that charged silence, a figure appeared, tall and cloaked, neither fully human nor spirit. It spoke without words, sending a cold rush through my veins. The boundaries between time and reality blurred. I wasn't sure if I stood in the present or some ancient past where the forgotten gods whispered secrets. My mind spun with questions I had no answers to. Sela urged us to trust the path, to embrace what was unfolding. Yet I felt the weight of something ancient pressing down, reminding me that some doors should never be opened. As we moved forward, each step was heavier than the last, and the world around us grew less certain. At the heart of the temple, light dimmed to a ghostly glow. Symbols on the walls seemed to pulse with life, and the air thickened with it both protective and threatening. Mira clung to my side, her usual confidence replaced by a silent dread. Darren whispered prayers to gods long forgotten, hoping to shield us from the unknown. The last thing I remember before everything went dark was the feeling of time unraveling. Past and present collided, and I was caught between worlds, unsure if I would ever find my way back or become a part of this ancient mystery forever. When I finally opened my eyes, the forest was quiet again, but I knew nothing would ever be the same. The shadows lingered in my thoughts, and the token burned softly in my hand, a reminder that some secrets never rest. The morning light spilled weakly through the dense trees as I tried to steady my breath. I was with Aaron and Marissa, both quiet now, eyes darting nervously over the shifting shadows around us. We moved slowly through the undergrowth, each step heavier, as if the forest itself resisted our presence. Aaron found an old journal wedged between the rocks, its pages yellowed but filled with careful handwriting. Marissa traced the lines, whispering about the writer's obsession with the strange lights seen near the cliffs at night. The words hinted at a hidden world, layered beneath the one we knew. A place where time folded in on itself. I could feel a strange weight settling in my chest, an uneasy mix of fascination and dread. The forest wasn't just a backdrop. It seemed alive, watching, waiting. Marissa's voice faltered as she read about a ritual that might unlock what lurked beneath, but warned of consequences no one could predict. We reached a clearing where the air felt cooler, almost electric. Aaron pointed to faint markings carved into the bark of an ancient oak. They matched the symbols from the journal, twisting and looping in patterns that made my skin prickle. A low hum vibrated through the ground, barely audible but impossible to ignore. Suddenly, a figure stepped from the shadows, Caleb, a local who had joined us days before. His eyes were wide, face pale, and he carried a small lantern that flickered oddly in the windless air. He said he'd seen something moving between the trees, something not quite human. I didn't know what to believe, but his fear was genuine. We pressed forward, drawn toward an old stone circle hidden beneath layers of moss and vines. The stones pulsed faintly, shadows stretching unnaturally long. Marissa hesitated, her hand trembling as she reached out to touch the nearest pillar. The moment her fingers brushed the cold surface, the world seemed to shift. Sounds blurred, colors deepened, and I felt a presence press against my mind. Aaron tried to laugh it off, but his smile was tight. The journal's warnings echoed in my mind. Something ancient was waking here. The air thickened with whispers I couldn't catch, voices like echoes from another time, speaking just beyond comprehension. In the growing twilight, we saw them, shapes flickering at the edge of vision, not quite solid, not quite gone. Marissa clutched my arm, breath shallow. Caleb's lantern sputtered and dimmed. The circle's stones glowed faintly, tracing patterns that seemed to reach toward the sky and back into the earth. Then the ground trembled, slow and deep, as if the earth was breathing beneath us. The whispers grew louder, folding into words that felt both familiar and strange. I wanted to turn away but couldn't. There was a pull, a call I couldn't resist. Suddenly, the stone circle brightened in a surge of light. Shadows danced wildly, twisting into forms that seemed to move between fear and curiosity. Caleb gasped, stepping back as a soft wind swept through the clearing, carrying a scent I couldn't place, something ancient and alive. As the light faded, the shapes lingered, half seen and fading like a dream on waking. Marissa looked at me with wide eyes, no words needed. We had crossed a line, stepped into a place where the veil between worlds thinned dangerously. Walking back through the forest, the silence was heavier than before. Aaron was quiet, lost in thought. Marissa held the journal tightly, as if it was the only thing anchoring her to this world. I felt the weight of something unspoken, a knowledge that things would never be quite the same. That night, as I lay awake, the whispers returned. Not outside, but inside my mind. They told stories without words, filling the darkness with cold light. I wondered if we had brought back more than memories from that place, if the forest had left a part of itself inside us. The next day, the journal disappeared. Marissa swore she had it last, but it was gone without a trace. Caleb left town quietly, eyes haunted by things he refused to speak of. And I was left wondering if the line we crossed was a door or a trap. All I know is the forest keeps calling, its whispers following me like a shadow I can't shake. Some nights, I hear the soft echo of those voices and remember the cold light in the stone circle. It feels like a secret I carry inside me, one I can't escape. The days after the clearing felt strangely quiet. I found myself back at the small cafe downtown, sitting across from Emily and Jordan, friends who had joined me after I shared bits of what happened. Their faces were calm but curious, like they wanted to believe there was a simple explanation for the strange events. But something in my tone made that impossible. Emily talked about old legends she'd heard growing up nearby, stories of places where the veil between worlds thinned. Jordan, usually skeptical, admitted feeling a chill the night I told them everything. We laughed nervously, but beneath it was a shared unease. The forest wasn't just trees and shadows anymore. It was a puzzle none of us could ignore. One evening, Emily suggested we visit the spot again, hoping to find answers. Jordan hesitated but agreed. I wasn't sure if I wanted to return, but something pulled me back. The three of us drove out as dusk settled, the air heavy with the scent of pine and earth. We reached the clearing, now quieter than before, but the weight of the place was undeniable. Emily found a faint outline on the ground, like a circle traced in dust. Jordan scanned the perimeter and noticed tiny stones arranged oddly near the roots of a willow. The feeling of being watched returned, subtle but real. I kept glancing over my shoulder, convinced something was moving just out of sight. Suddenly, a soft murmur brushed the air. It wasn't the wind, but words, too faint to understand. We froze. Jordan pulled out a small recorder, hoping to capture the sound. Emily whispered that it matched the patterns from the journal we once saw. The forest was speaking, but not in a way meant for us to hear easily. Then the temperature dropped. My breath came out in clouds as a faint glow shimmered from the stones near the tree. Emily stepped closer, fascinated but cautious. The light pulsed, matching the rhythm of our quickening hearts. The atmosphere thickened, the boundary between normal and strange blurring. Jordan suggested we leave, but Emily was drawn in, her fingers brushing the stones. At that moment, the glow intensified. Shapes flickered at the edge of the clearing, barely visible but undeniably present. A chill ran down my spine as the whispers grew louder, swirling around us in a cold embrace. The air shifted again. The glowing stones dimmed, and the murmurs faded into silence. We stood in the sudden stillness, breathless and unsettled. Emily's eyes were wide, reflecting the dim light. Jordan looked torn between awe and fear. I felt trapped between two worlds, unsure if we had glimpsed something sacred or dangerous. Back in the car, silence filled the space between us. The forest behind seemed to hold its breath, watching us retreat. I couldn't shake the feeling that we hadn't left it behind, that it had marked us somehow. Emily's journal, once forgotten in the chaos, was now a lifeline none of us dared ignore. That night, sleep was elusive. The whispers came again, softer this time, weaving through my thoughts like a thread pulling me toward something unknown. I wondered if the forest was a warning or an invitation, and whether I was ready for the answer. The line between reality and the unseen had shifted, leaving a trace I couldn't forget. The morning after our visit to the clearing, I found myself unable to shake the feeling that something had changed inside me. I met with Alex and Mia at a small diner not far from my apartment. They were both curious but cautious, sensing the heaviness I carried without me having to say much. Alex tapped his fingers on the table, eyes searching, while Mia just nodded quietly, her face thoughtful. I told them about the glow, the murmurs, how the air felt thicker, like the forest was breathing around us. Alex, usually practical, suggested maybe it was just our minds playing tricks after a long night. Mia wasn't so sure, recalling odd events in her own neighborhood, lights flickering, whispers when no one else was around. We all agreed it was more than coincidence. Later that day, I walked through my apartment, the sunlight casting strange shadows on the walls. The journal Emily left behind sat on my desk, pages open to a strange symbol I hadn't noticed before. The lines seemed to shift as I stared, like they were alive. A sudden knock at the door startled me. It was Jordan, looking pale but determined. He said he'd been researching the clearing too, found old maps and stories that spoke of a thin place where the barrier between this world and something else was fragile. We sat down, piecing together fragments of history, folklore, and the experiences we'd all had. The more we talked, the heavier the silence grew. Something was watching. That night, my dreams were restless. Faces appeared in shadows, silent but urgent. I woke to find my phone buzzing, Mia's name flashing. She sent a message. She'd seen something near her house, lights dancing without source, like they were trying to communicate. I told her we had to meet again, to face whatever was stirring before it grew stronger. At the edge of the forest, under a moonless sky, the three of us gathered. The air was cool but thick with expectation. We stepped forward, hearts pounding, following the faint glow that seemed to pulse just beyond the trees. As we moved deeper, the whispers returned, clearer this time, almost a melody that wrapped around us like a spell. Suddenly, a figure appeared in the clearing, not threatening, but unmistakably not human. It watched us silently, eyes reflecting the faint light. My breath caught. Mia reached out instinctively, and the figure shifted, dissolving into the mist like a secret released. The forest fell silent again, but something had shifted. Walking back, the three of us felt changed, bound by what we'd seen and heard. I knew the forest wasn't just a place. It was a reminder that some things are beyond explanation, and some doors once opened can never be closed. The quiet after that night was different. It held a weight, a secret whispered just beneath the surface of the world we thought we knew.